Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in as we get ready to rock and roll here this afternoon as the Buttkicker 100, live from the road course at Daytona International Speedway in the Hypershift Racing League, is about to get underway. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in to the Buttkicker 100 here this afternoon. Some great racing action about to come right at you here as we welcome each and every one of you guys in. Peace and love to all the fans in the stands coming and showing the love here in this one. If you guys are just tuning in or you're rewatching the broadcast, make sure you guys do us a favor. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and hit that follow and subscribe button, as this is going to be a ton of fun here in this one. As Mr. Glenn says, link to your Discord, my guy. I got you, brother. I'll shoot you that over on Messenger. I may just have to have you add me as a friend. It doesn't, my Discord, for some reason, whenever I try to invite anybody, it just says, hidden use copy button, and then the copy button just copies the words and not the actual link. I don't know what the heck is going on with that, but nonetheless, I'll get that figured out. I'll get that sent to you over there on Facebook, brother. I saw that you messaged me. I was at work, and I just couldn't reply there. As we'll get ready to rock and roll. Drivers jumping out onto the racetrack here. It's qualifying, and a lot of these cats looking to try to keep themselves out of trouble, looking to just try to get a good lap in here, and hoping that they can set themselves up for a good day here at the Speedway. As only localized caution flags here for this 30-lap race, so things should move pretty quickly. We should be able to get through some of the action rather smoothly out there on the Speedway. Obviously, drivers may end up into a lot of damage, a lot of tough issues out there on the Speedway. This is very, very tough for a lot of cats. They go from normally running the oval here in these NASCAR Cup cars, now going to a road course. Always kind of puts a bit of a different mix into all the action. You see the two-ride getting a little too wide there on the corner, gets up and off the racetrack there, luckily enough, able to keep it rocking and rolling, gets driving there once again, and able to keep himself back out there onto the racetrack. And we're going to see that a lot here this afternoon. Now, luckily enough, there's no wall or safer barrier there down in the corner number one turn, so you're not going to get tore up too quickly out there on the Speedway, but there's still a lot of other areas where you can run into problems, have mistakes, go off the racetrack, and put yourself into a fence or into some other calamities out there on the Speedway in a quick hurry as James Hudson rolls out there on the Speedway. Here comes Justin Hendry looking to have himself a good day in that A-Just Claims in Consulting number 54. Ryan Brian Fine out there in the Logan Strong number 57. We see Gage Wenzel back in action here as well in the Tom's Tasty Taters and Fish Sandwiches number 36 machine, driving out there onto the Speedway is Timothy Watson right now, the first driver to get a lap complete. Zach Wilson, the second driver to complete a lap. He is now currently the fastest car out there on the Speedway in that Rogue number 51 ride. As we do see Jaden Newsom out there as well. Newsom out there on the Speedway in that ASL machine down across the line. Looks like he's going to get a lap in there or get his lap started. Is Jack Simpson also out there in that Premier Racing Setups and number 24 ride down through the tri-oval here at Daytona International Speedway. Adam Boughton, it's Evo out there as well in the Admin Bucks 213 Simware.com Amazon Prime number 94 ride. Dalton Wicker, the Tiny Toes ride, he's out there on the racetrack. Dalton looking for a big run here this afternoon, and now this is really going to be an interesting race. We're going to see a lot of drivers that are probably, maybe a little bit more comfortable in these road courses compared to being in the oval, and we're going to see a lot of variations of, good to bad out there on the Speedway. When you look at some of the lap times already laid down, Zach Wilson with that 1 minute and 45 second lap time, he's almost 4/10 quicker than second place Timothy Watson. Jack Simpson's right there behind him, not too far back. We do see Gage Wenzel, and then it starts to really fall off there outside our top four. Aaron Spear, who's currently our fifth place driver here in qualifying, ran a 1:47.34, which is pretty much a second and a half slower than our pole sitter. So that's the gap between first to fifth. And then you look back throughout the field, some of these other drivers like Kent Mueller and Al Likens, they're running, a minute 58, minute 55 second lap times. Adam Boughton was a 1 minute and 59 seconds, almost 2 minutes out there as, Man, some drivers definitely struggle when it comes to the road courses, and we're going to see that effect here this afternoon as 213 Simware coming in with that like and the share on the broadcast. Hypershift Racing League also coming in with that like and the share as well. Says, how about some NASCAR road racing, eh? A. I like the A in there for us Canadians. A little A never hurt anybody. It goes a long way. As he says, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot, he says. Yes, Sirski, that's all we can do. Is a quick time out there on the racetrack. Brian Fine jumps to the top of the speed charts. Fine with the quick time out there on the racetrack, jumps in front of Zach Wilson and Timothy Watson right there. Gage Wenzel still back in fourth, and now Jack Simpson rounding out our top five. And this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a tight battle, I think, all afternoon between these drivers. Everyone trying to put themselves into the winning strategy, into the best place possible out there on the speedway. And if you guys are just tuning in, make sure you guys do us a favor, man. It's absolutely free to do. Helps the stream out a ton. Helps it grow a ton. All you gotta do is hit the like button. Keep hitting those reactions over there on YouTube and Facebook. Drop a couple comments, and potentially, if you haven't already, hit that follow button or hit that subscribe button. Become part of the Peacemaker family today. Every single reaction, every single comment helps push the stream out in front of more and more prospective viewers and bringing in more crowds here to cheer these drivers on and to experience everything that Hypershift Racing League has to offer. As Brian Fine, he's going to find a little bit more speed there on lap 2. Fine is looking fine out here on the road courses. This Ford Mustang can definitely turn left and right, but you can already see those brakes. They are glowing red hot out there on the racetrack. Normally not something we see here at Daytona International Speedway. Normally we don't see these drivers even using the brakes here at Daytona. Normally they're on the loud pedal. They're driving fast out there on the speedway, and they're all trying to put themselves into the winner's circle with the draft. But here at the road course, the drafting really isn't much of an issue. We won't really see too much drafting out there, and unfortunately, we may see a lot of that right there. Around goes that 99 right, the Chronic Pawns 99 over there on Twitch. He unfortunately goes around, backs it into the outside fence. He's going to qualify right now in that 10th position. That second lap will not count, so he's going to pull it right back into the pits. We do see Michael Carter out there. Beautiful looking right here in that Real Tree number 18 machine. Carter, he's trying to get a lap time in. He's looking to see if he can maybe get a quick time here, move himself a little closer to the front of the field, as the 18 ride currently sits right now outside of the top 19. There's only 19 drivers have taken lap times so far here this afternoon. Christopher James, Chris Zofeld, Max Koss, Justin Hendry, and Michael Carter all yet to register a qualifying time here this evening, as this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be really, really interesting. It's going to get very intense out there on the speedway to see what these drivers are going to be able to do and how they're going to be able to work themselves around the racetrack. As Nelson Sean says, road racing or road rage on here are both enjoyable to watch. Yes, Sirski. Yes, sir. You know it. You know it, brother. And listen, here in iRacing, we see a lot of road rage, and we don't see a whole lot of road racing. Maybe tonight we'll get a little bit of both. Maybe we'll get a little bit of that road rage. Drivers that probably aren't super thrilled, super happy about, doing, the road course racing. Probably not their strong suit, but still going to jump out there, try to have some fun, and hopefully not too much raging out there on the speedway when things go wrong, as they can go wrong in a quick curry. One missed shift, one wrong corner, and your night can get a whole lot tougher in a quick curry with no caution flags and everything else, as Carter does qualify there in position number 20 now. He's not going to get another lap in before qualifying comes to a close here this afternoon, as Nelson Johns coming in with that like on the stream, and my boy Matthew Glenn, Mr. Glenn, coming in showing the love as well here in this one, as T-Jack, what's good, Tyler? Tyler says, where's the dirt at? Where's the dirt at? He says, brother, we left it in Volusia last night, okay? You left it in Volusia. There was too much of a beat down, so there's no dirt racing here tonight. And if anything, there's going to be Call of Duty here later on tonight. And if you guys want to watch some, maybe a little bit of Verdansk return, a little bit of Call of Duty here later on this afternoon, make sure you guys hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, babies. You don't want to miss out on that action, as the Ferris wheel and all the racing action about to come right at you here from the road course at Daytona International Speedway. It is the Buttkicker 100 here in Daytona as the Hypershift Racing League look to go to battle, look to duke it out here this afternoon. Drivers are going to get lined up and ready to go as starting on the pole in that 57 ride. It is Brian Fine. Fine will start out in front with Zach Wilson in position number 2. Timothy Watson back there in third with Gage Wenzel in position number 4. Jack Simpson will qualify there in the 5th position in that Premier Racing Setups number 24 ride. Michael Sheffield starting in position number 6. Starting in the 7th spot in that beautiful Reds, the Cincinnati Reds, and number 96 ride. It's Aaron Spear to his outside in the Tiny Toes, number 77. It's Dalton Wicker. Starting in position number 9 in that Noble American ride, that is Chase Abel, and rounding out our top 10 in the 99, it's Tyler Chronister. Starting in the 11th position, that is Jaden Newson. Newson will start there in 11th with Daryl Johnson to his outside. Starting in position number 13 in the 95 ride, that is Anthony Ludi, and to his outside in the Menards number 12, it's Gavin Grubbs. Starting in position number 15, it's Jonathan Cogswell. To his outside will be that 2 ride of James Hudson. Hudson will start there in 16th with Ken Mueller, and normally he's in that DHL ride here tonight. New look and paint scheme here for Ken Mueller. Mueller will start back there in position number 17. Adam Boughton there in 18th in that Amazon 213 Simware number 94 ride. Then we see Christopher James, Al Likens, Michael Carter, Justin Hendry, and Max Koss bringing up the rear of the field as Chris Sofeld did not jump out on the racetrack there for the staging here this afternoon. Unfortunately, Sofeld has not jumped out on the racetrack. We'll have to wait and see if he can slide out there. What's good, Cody McCoy? Mr. McCoy coming in, showing the love. What's good, Cody? Cody coming in showing the love here in this one as Squeaker 187 says 2430 looks solid team-wise. They definitely look pretty solid team-wise. I mean, they got all 3 of their drivers inside the top 10 here for this start as down through the Geico restart zone. We will see that green flag fly. Brian Fine, Zach Wilson will lead us to the green flag here at the road course at Daytona International Speedway as we end all the anticipation with our feature presentation as we are quickly green flag racing here in the Buttkicker 100. As you do see that 51 ride got a little hot into corner number 1, washes up and off the racetrack. Unfortunately, that is going to hurt Zach Wilson. Wilson trying to build up that speed, falls all the way back into 8th. He was looking to try to take that race lead. Unfortunately, now back in that 8th position. Chase Abel early, already up 3 spots here as he rolls down to the inside of Jaden Newson. Newson right there as well in position number 7 on his way to the front of the field. But Brian Fine out in front, able to hit that start perfectly, able to see that 51 ride beat him down into corner number 1, but knew he was holding too much speed and able to just drive right down low and around him. Is now, oh baby, look out, Gage Wenzel blinking a little bit right there. I thought we saw him maybe go around as everybody just trying to make it through the inner course section here at Daytona International Speedway. As they will exit that inner course area, they will head down into corner number 1 and 2 here at Daytona International Speedway. They'll slide all the way down out of corner number 2 here down the back straightaway here at Daytona. Now this is where you can carry a lot of speed, a lot of momentum, and then all of a sudden you really got to get checked up. You got to slow down quite a bit as here comes one of those bus turns right there. You got to shoot down the racetrack, get a little bit of an S in there, roll back out onto the racetrack and into corner number 3 here at Daytona. Now this will take us all the way back around across the start finish line and into our first corner of the infield track. So it's going to be interesting to really see how these drivers are going to be able to handle, all the action here, how they're going to be able to handle this race, and only having localized caution flags, it's going to be really, really tough for drivers if they run into a mistake or 2 to bounce back to be able to survive here this afternoon. You virtually got to be picture perfect because I do see Fine get up a little bit high right there. He's going to lose a little time as here comes that 24 of Jack Simpson trying to close the door on him. His look out, that was the 28 of Timothy Watson. Watson going to shoot down the racetrack here through the grass. My gosh, that put him out in front of the field, but he's going to quickly lose a bunch of spots right here. It's definitely going to be a penalty cutting the course right there. You see him just get into one of those stanchions and just kind of gets bumping, and just all of a sudden the car very, very loose on his toes. You watch him hit that little bus stop right there. The car gets up once, twice. It's bouncing around. He loses the rear end. He's on the throttle trying to carry that speed down into the next corner. Unfortunately, the car just goes down through the grass, and watch that thing just hop, skip, and jump across, back across the racetrack here, and that did put him out in front here. Now, I do believe he's going to potentially either have to serve a penalty or have to lose a bunch of spots here as he rolls back out onto the racetrack. Probably going to get a hold here for cutting the course there, as that's a tough break there for him, as we did see Michael Carter also off the racetrack here. That Realtree number 18 ride. He was deeper in the field, but looks like down through the grass right there. Gets a little bit into the grass. Unfortunately, maybe not getting checked up quite enough, and luckily enough, he's able to keep that thing still pointing the right direction. Keeps on rolling, keeps on racing, but not as lucky for Kent Mueller here. Mueller in this number 8 ride, unfortunately, looks like he's going to run into some issues as he starts to build up that speed, heads down into one of the final corners on the infield here. You see those brakes already heated up. Can't make the corner and slams into the tire barrier there. Heavy contact for him, and then you watch the 18 ride of Michael Carter come in and get right into the back end of him there, and unfortunately, here you go, Timothy Watson, he did have to come down pit side, so a tough break here for Watson, as here he is down pit road. And I believe serving that penalty cut in the course there on the racetrack. He's going to come down into his box. He's going to try to take advantage of that, maybe get some fuel and some tires and anything else, or yeah, there you go. He's going to get jacked up, get those tires on there. You do see Kent Mueller down pit road as well, looking to get his car repaired, as the Brew Crew, the Milwaukee Brewers, number 8 ride, unfortunately tore up out there on the speedway. Some tough breaks here already for a bunch of these drivers running into problems, and they're only going to continue here this afternoon. Is out in front, it is Brian Fine out there on the speedway, who continues to lead the way. Last time around the racetrack, though, the quickest lap of this race going to Jack Simpson. Simpson, the only driver able to run inside the minute and 45-second bracket. Everyone else is running either 146s or even farther back, even slower lap times, 147s, 148s, 150s, and so much more out there on the racetrack. And unfortunately, here for Jack Simpson, he is back in position number 2. He's got a bit of a gap between himself and Brian Fine, trying to close that gap up, trying to catch back to the rear bumper of this 57 machine, as Corey Denk coming in, showing the love, says, let's go Dalton, show him them toes. Show him the toes, he says. Dalton already up into inside the top 5 here. Dalton Wicker in that tiny toes ride in that 5th position, as Stephanie Hunt says, let's go. Gage cheering on Gage Wenzel. Wenzel right there in position number 3. Him and his 24-30 teammate running nose to tail on the racetrack, both looking to try to hunt down our race leader, Zach Wilson, back there in position number 4, looking for more here after making that opening lap mistake, blowing it too hot down into quarter number 1, slid all the way back into 8th, but now has raced his way back inside the top 4 out there on the racetrack, as now we do see some more issues out here. James Hudson gonna run into some problems here as he's trying to get this car checked up in almost the same area. I don't know if he's just gonna spin this car around or what may happen. There we go, just a kind of conversion right there, going from the flat of the racetrack down on the very inner apron, kind of getting back up onto that banking. Sometimes it can really throw these cars at a loop, and unfortunately for the 2 ride, goes for a quick little loop-de-loop. Luckily enough, no damage there for him, as Jaden Newson gonna run into some problems here, as well as Jaden sends it down into quarter number 1 here. Now, he was rolling inside the top 10 at this time, and unfortunately looks like he just gets in too hot, locks up those brakes, gets for a little skid right there. Now he's gonna lose 1, 2, 3, potentially even 4 positions right there. Looks like he is able to slide right in line and keep that 95 ride of Anthony Ludi on the outside looking in, but losing those 3 spots took him from 9th all the way back to 12th, and now that we're going back the line, we do see that unfortunately for Jaden, he is still in a battle here. He is actually going to lose position number 12 there to Anthony Ludi. Ludi able to take that spot away from him. And some great racing all around the racetrack. These drivers putting on a heck of a show for us, everyone. And you you see those brakes, man. Some drivers a little bit more easier on them, maybe a little bit more smooth on the throttle and on those brakes. Other drivers a little bit heavier on the brakes, trying to get their cars slowed up and checked up out there on the speedway. And unfortunately, quite a bit of heat already being built up. And now when those brakes really start to get hot, it's like being at Martinsville, it's like being at Bristol. When the brakes really start to heat up, when you start to use them too much, it really heats up those tires. And as those tires get heated up, you know, they're only rubber, ladies and gentlemen. They're only rubber tires, and unfortunately, when you start laying the heat into them by a bunch, the tires start to get a little bit slicker. They start to tear away a little bit easier, and unfortunately, that's where we can really start to see some fall off in tire wear for a lot of these drivers. Is seeing, you know, all that heat, all that brake dust, everything else going on to these tires, and unfortunately, could be burning up those right fronts in a quick hurry. And drivers are going to have to be very, very conscious of that. Is if you get a flat right front tire, let's say you're right here in this inner circle part, you know, you're a long distance away from that pit road. You need to try to keep yourself out of trouble, and unfortunately there for the 40 ride, we saw him just getting up and off the racetrack there, down through the grass, going to lose a few more spots. And for Jaden Newson, he is now back into the 17th position. Looks like Michael Carter going to run into some more issues here, as well as Carter in this number 18 ride, already with some front end damage. Looks like he's going to potentially run into another issue out here on the racetrack, trying to get this thing checked up. Looks like he's just going to lock that right front up. Car slides up the racetrack. Luckily enough, able to avoid making any contact with that wall, but that's going to flat spot those tires and tear them up quite a bit. And as you continue to run into problems like that and continue to, you know, use up these tires out there on the racetrack, you're just going to affect yourself in the handling of that car more and more and more out there on the speedways. You're just going to be feeling that pain, and the tire's going to fade away even quicker here this afternoon. As out in front, it is Brian Fine, and he is looking fine and feeling fine out here at the front of the field. He is a man on a mission this afternoon, as he's out in front by 5.5 seconds now. It is the Brian Fine show here this afternoon. He is looking to be that reflection of perfection here this evening, as he does hold, I do believe, the quickest lap time of this race. The quickest lap time out there on the speedway, as he was able to run a 1 minute 45 seconds in .44. Next closest is Jack Simpson with a 1:45.64, so 0.2 of a second faster than anybody else's best lap time out there on the speedway. And for Zach Wilson, looks like he may be having some issues, maybe some connection problems there for Zach Wilson. He's kind of disappeared off the racetrack here, and unfortunately, oh man, he may have actually lost internet here, ladies and gentlemen. So for that number 51, that could be day over for him. Zach Wilson is officially, looks like he has left the building here. Oh, that's a heartbreaker there for Zach. That is never something you want to see out there on the speedways. Someone running into problems like that. Internet connection issues, always the worst end of it, as we do see the 12 ride unfortunately running into problems here as well. So Gavin Grubbs in that Menards number 12, just trying to roll down through corner 1 here, and just unfortunately loses the rear end, goes around pretty solid contact with that inside wall. He's pointing the wrong direction. Luckily enough, able to get it pointed back in the right direction here after a little bit of a 3-point turn out there on the racetrack, as I'm not sure what's taking him so long trying to get this thing turned around, but nonetheless, he does finally get it pointed back in the right way here, as Hudson and the 18 ride both going to roll around him, as we did see Zach Wilson. Yeah, I can't even see Zach Wilson. So Wilson just unfortunately looks like he ran into some connection issues out there, and all of a sudden that car has just disappeared off the racetrack, and he is still disappeared out there. Unfortunately, his day may be done, as you see the 8 ride down through the infield here. He's trying to get this thing checked up now, as he's coming into the corner a little bit too hot right there. Luckily enough, does get it checked up, doesn't make any major contact. Gonna have a grill full of grass out there on the racetrack for him, and definitely not the day that Ken Mueller was hoping for. It's definitely the day, though, that Brian Fine was, you know, circling maybe on his map, maybe a road course ringer in that 57 ride. Over 6 seconds now between himself and Gage Wenzel. Wenzel and that 24 ride of Jack Simpson still tight together here. Teammates honestly been practicing, been racing together here on these road courses, and here he is right there ready to rock and roll. Zach Wilson says PC froze, go RTX. are. Oh, Zach, man, that is a heartbreaker right there, brother. I thought maybe you just lost internet connection or something. We saw the car just all of a sudden start falling down that leaderboard, and when we click on your name, unfortunately, just couldn't see it out there on the racetrack, so I figured it was probably a connection issue of some sorts, and unfortunately for you, now all the way back there. And second last is unfortunately Chris Sofeld. Still hasn't joined the race here yet, and Chris back in 24th here, currently scored as our 23rd driver out there on the speedway, and not the spot I know you wanted to be here this afternoon. Is Gage Wetzel, Jack Simpson, 1 and 2 out there on the speedway. It's the Tiny Toes number 77 rider, Dalton Wicker back there in third. Now he's got a little bit of a gap between himself and Wetzel, and Simpson here, he's hoping that maybe they run into a couple issues out there on the racetrack, and maybe he can jump up there and jump in there. As Robbie says, RTR equals dirty racers. Oh gosh, Robbie, enough, brother, enough. Who cares? Who cares, man? That was in the past. No one cares about what was in the past and what happened, brother. That's unfortunate. Laugh out loud. Glad you think so, sir. Hey, you know what? If you ain't got haters, you ain't doing something right. You know, that's a great motto right there. If you ain't got haters, you ain't doing something right. As Wicker, they're in position number 4. It's Aaron Spear. They're in position number 5. Spear holding on to a top 5 run right now, but he's got that one ride of Michael Sheffield all over his back bumper. The lowest for pros ride, having a good run. Another solid drive out there on the speedway as he rolls there in position number 6, and sitting in 7th, it's that noble American ride, the 7 of Chase Abel. In the 7 ride, rolls there in position number 7. He's just trying to catch up to these few cats in front of him, see if he can gain a couple extra spots out there on the speedway. Has no caution flags, only localized issues out there on the speedway, so no actual full course cautions here this afternoon. Gonna make things kind of move along quickly, but also gonna make things very, very interesting. If you run into a couple issues, if you have a problem and have to make unscheduled pit stops or have to get repairs out there on the racetrack, you gotta do it during the green flag racing. And unfortunately, you're down there for quite a while. You're going to go multiple laps down potentially out there on the speedway. Luckily enough, you do have a lot of time here. It takes about roughly for our race leaders 1 minute and 46 seconds to get all the way around the racetrack. So luckily enough, if you do have to come down pit side, hopefully you can kind of do it within 30, 40 seconds. Maybe keep yourself on the lead lap and hope that they have to make pit stops later in the race as well. As Tyler Chronister back there in that 8th position here. Jonathan Cogswell up 6 spots, rolling there in 9th, and Justin Hendry in that 54 ride. The A-Just machine rolls there inside the top 10 now. Started back in 22nd, has raced his way up and into position number 10 on the speedway, already up 12 spots on the racetrack. Unfortunately now for that 54 ride, these passes and the opportunities to gain positions are going to be farther and farther in between here, as he's got about 2, almost 3 seconds between himself and Cogswell out there on the speedway. Luckily enough, he does have a 3-second or so lead between himself and Jaden Newson, as Newson trying to race his way back up inside the top 10. Is Jaden battling door to door here with Evo, as Adam Boughton trying to hold on to that 11th position. Jaden trying to take it back away from him here, as there you see that 4 rider Daryl Johnson rolls there in 13th with Anthony Ludi back there in that Adidas number 95 ride. The beautiful Buttkicker Adidas Toyota rolls there in position number 14. Max Cost there in 15th with Christopher James Hudson, Michael Carter, Timothy Watson, Ken Mueller rounding out our top 20 out there on the racetrack. Gavin Grumps there in 21st. Al Likens out there in that Napa Gold Filters, that Napa Auto Parts number 9 ride in position number 22. And Zach Wilson, unfortunately, still down and off the racetrack, scored back in 23rd, as we do see Gavin Grumps making another pit stop here this afternoon. As already, man, some great laps being laid down. These drivers putting on a heck of a show for us, and we're pretty much about to be 1/3 of the way through this race, and unfortunately our overlay has been running here, chat. What in the world is going on here? Let's get that overlay going. SDK dropping the ball there on that one. Let's get that overlay up and rolling out there so you guys can see where these drivers are on the racetrack and where they're rolling. And let's even give you one more step here. Let's go right here and let's take a look at let's do position. Now let's do car number out there. So these are the car numbers up there on that map. If you can see it, you can take a good look and kind of see where your driver is rolling at. Some of them are close in comparison, some of them are right there together, but you see down the far right hand side that 57 ride rounding corner number 2 at Daytona International Speedway. That gap all the way back to the 24, that solid red one going down through the middle of 1 and 2. That is the gap. Here's the 57 going into the bus turn. There's the 24 and the 36 just coming out of corner number 2. That is the gap between first and second and third out there on the speedway, as he's got himself a hell of a lead out there on the speedway. Brian Fine out in front by almost 10 seconds now. Almost a 10-second gap between himself and Jack Simpson, as Simpson rolls there in position number 2. Gage Wenzel there in third. They got about 4 seconds between themselves and our 4th place driver, Dalton Wicker, as Wicker rolls there in that 4th spot on the speedway. A little farther back, we do see our 5th place driver, the new 5th place driver. That one ride, the lowest for pros machine of Michael Sheffield. Sheffield rolls there in that 5th position. Aaron Spear there in 6th. And a little farther behind them, we do see Chase Abel, Tyler Chronister there in position number 8. Jonathan Cogswell back there in 9th as Justin Hendry down through that bus stop here. He is in position number 10. Jaden Newson right there with him. Adam Boughton back in 12th as Daryl Johnson, Anthony Ludy. Here comes that number 63 of Max Cost, the 88 of Christopher James just going down through that bus stop here. There's James Hudson. He's going through there as well as Timothy Watson in the 28. Michael Carter. These guys are just coming out of corner number the infield here, going down through quarter 1 and 2 right now of the racetrack. So just shows you how far back on the rear of the field is. Kent Mueller, here he is going up through corner 1 and 2 on the racetrack. And unfortunately here for Kent Mueller, he could be the next driver to go a lap down out there on the speedways. Brian Fine not too far away from him. Fine closing the gap in a quick hurry there on our 20th place drivers. Unfortunately, Gavin Grubbs, Al Likens, and Zach Wilson already a couple lap, or at least a lap, but potentially a couple laps down, as now we do see the 88 rider Christopher James. He comes down pit road, and James jumps down pit into the pits here. So from pit road, pushes that car down behind pit wall, and unfortunately for the 88 of Christopher James, looks like he may have called it quits here this evening as well. So a tough break there for that 88 ride, as out in front, it's Brian Fine. As Fine down across the line will click off another lap, and we see 19 laps left to go here this afternoon. 19 laps of racing action left here from the Buttkicker 100 from the Daytona road course here this evening. Some great racing action, man, and it's going to get only that much more crazier as drivers going to start to run into some tire wear issues. Fuel may become an issue out there, and then we're going to also see these drivers potentially start to run into some lap traffic. You do see the 57 has put Al Likens another lap down. Now he's looking to try to squeeze his way around the 8 rider Kent Mueller. Mueller trying to keep himself on the lead lap. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, as that 57 has just been so fast, so consistent lap after lap out there on the speedway. And unfortunately for Kent Mueller, even with his quickest time being 1 minute and 50 seconds, still about 4 seconds plus slower than our race leader. And there we go, quick, easy work there for Brian Fine. He will put him a lap down and slide right on around that 8 ride and keep himself out in front, continue to stretch out that race lead. It's over 11 seconds now between himself and Jack Simpson. Simpson now has a little bit of a gap and a little bit of breathing room here between himself and his teammate is Gage Wenzel back there in third. And unfortunately here is Wenzel starting to slide backwards. Dalton Wicker slowly but surely catching up to those two. He's only about 3 seconds back at Gage Wenzel, 4 seconds back here truly from Jack Simpson. So he's closing up on him. The Tiny Toes ride, that Ford Mustang, starting to show some speed on the long run and maybe starting to find his niche here, maybe starting to find that groove, that rhythm that he's been looking for, even though he's been running up inside the top 10, top 5 all afternoon. Here he is starting to put the pressure, starting to reel in those two cats in front of him, and they may have to start trying to think of some strategy here on what they may want to do to try to beat that number 57 of Brian Fine here this afternoon, as the gap is now over 12 seconds between first and second on the speedway. That is absolutely insane. 12 seconds here, ladies and gentlemen. That is a ton of time. That is a ton of track time out there on the racetrack, as these guys are really going to have to try to think of something quickly. As here we go, you see him coming down this little back straightaway. There's our second and third place drivers back there behind him. So, man, they're really far back here now, and that's really going to hurt a lot of these drivers and their opportunity to maybe put themselves into victory lane this afternoon. Let's see if we can take a look here at some of the action, some of the drivers that have been running into problems there. As we did see the 88 rider, Christopher James. Looks like Christopher down into corner number 1 here. He comes in with a big head of steam, trying to keep that car pointed the right direction. Unfortunately, gets in a little too hot here. Blows it up and off the speedway. That's before he took it down pit wall, and he's going to get stopped there. Takes it down pit side, then takes it down behind pit wall. We did see the 12 rider, Gavin Grubbs. Grubbs ends up running into some problems here as well. Let's take a look and see what happens to this peak oil, Pennzoil. Menard's number 12 riders. Oh yeah, he cuts the back straightaway here, the chicane. Unfortunately, if you miss that chicane, you gotta roll around this tire barriers here. That's kind of the penalty if you miss that chicane here on the racetrack at the Daytona road course. So there goes that turn. You're supposed to turn left right there. Supposed to turn left down the chicane. He blows through the orange commitment cones right there. Now he has to serve this penalty, and that's kind of going around this little bit of an S through these tires, and unfortunately comes in a little bit too much speed. Can't make that hard right-hand turn quick enough, and unfortunately drives head-on into that third little safer barrier right there. Pretty heavy damage to the front end of that 12 ride, and unfortunately that took him right down pit road. Then we see Michael Carter also running into some problems here again, as well as Carter in that Yeti Toyota, that Realtree machine, down into corner number 2 here. Just gets in a little too hot, gets up into the grass. Luckily enough, there's some concrete right there that he's able to grip on to get that car stopped and pointed back in the right direction and keep on rolling out there on the speedway. Now, we did see some more issues for Kent Mueller here as well in the 8 ride. Let's take a look here at Kent. He's trying to roll down into this final corner inside the racetrack here, and he's just going to get back onto the throttle. Looks like he's just going to get into a little bit of a wheel hop. The rear end sticks out on him. He's able to quickly get onto the binders, keep that car from going around. Unfortunately, just gets stopped, gets on rolling there, able to keep that car pointed in the right direction and out of trouble. So good break there for him, as out in front, leading the way here at Daytona International Speedway, the road course here at Daytona. It's Brian Fine. Fine out in front, 12.5 seconds between himself and Gage Wenzel. Wenzel there in position number 2. Jack Simpson there in third, and there you see that 4th place driver. That is Dalton Wicker. Wicker still trying to catch up to both of those caps, trying to reel them in and see if he can move that tiny toes number 77 ride a little closer through the field here. As there we go, you see the light right there as well, trying to give these drivers a pretty big heads up that you gotta turn left right there. You gotta turn left. You gotta make it down through that bus stop, the chicane there on the back straightaway, and unfortunately we saw at least one driver not make that corner, and we do see another driver running into some problems here. It's James Hudson. Hudson looks like maybe he's going to run into that problem. Yeah, he's just going to miss it. He tries to get down to the left there. Unfortunately, goes down through the grass on the inside and the outside of that chicane. Gets that car rolling, though, here once again, and able to get that GE22 designs right, even with the grass and everything else. Rocking and rolling here again on the speedway. He does lose his spot there to Michael Carter. Is the next 2 to potentially go a lap down out there on the speedway. Man, this has been a great battle, some great racing, and now we start to see our second, third place driver, our 4th place driver, that gap really starting to close up here. We're really starting to see this picture being built as Gage Wenzel, who's in position number 2, now starting to see a little lap traffic here. Has to try to get around James Hudson, as Hudson down a lap here on the racetrack. He's trying to keep that 2 ride point in the right direction, seeing if he can hunt back and get around that 18 ride on Michael Carter. Carter also a lap down out there on the speedway. The next driver to potentially go a lap down here this afternoon is this number 28 of Timothy Watson. Watson, who started up inside the top 5 here this evening, started, I do believe, in the 3rd position in that Helveline number 28 ride. All of a sudden, he's got some pressure being built up to his back bumper. We do see Cogswell down pit side here. So Jonathan Cogswell making a green flag pit stop here this afternoon. Just looks like some tires, some fuel, and he's going to roll back out onto the racetrack. Potentially could fall a lap behind this number 28 as here he comes down through corner number 1, and he is going to move around the 84 ride and take that 15th position away. Cogswell now potentially the next driver to go a lap down as our race leader, not too far away from him, but a lucky break here as here comes Brian Fine. Green flag pit stops underway here in this one. Here comes Gage Wenzel, here comes Jack Simpson. They're coming down pit side as well, but Dalton Wick are going to stay out for another lap here this afternoon. There's only 15 laps left to go. Looks like drivers deciding to split this race in half, just knowing that they got 5 sets of tires back there behind pit wall. They know they probably don't need them, and if they can make it on fuel for 15 laps, they made it from the drop of the green flag here to this halfway marker. So now some drivers coming down pit side, they know they're good on fuel to the end of this race. Other drivers maybe electing to use a little bit of pit strategy here, stay out a little bit longer, maybe try to have those bigger runs more. As Tommy, what's good, Tommy? Tommy Pulte says, are you trying to add any more days of broadcasting? Honestly, not really, Tommy. I'm pretty much booked every single day of the week. Every single day of the week, I have 1 to 4 broadcasts already on them, unless if you got like a unlikely time frame that you're looking to run. If it's like a Saturday, afternoon or something like that, or if it's like a late race Fridays or late race Thursdays or something like that start at like 11:30 Eastern time, something crazy like that, then unfortunately I don't really have much time frames to really fill in or anything else, and every single day is pretty much already spoken for pretty much the next year. Going forward here. A lot of these leagues are already booking into 2026 and everything else, so we're busy up here in the booth, brother. We're always busy up here into the booth. And some great racing as Dalton Wicker, the Tiny Toe 77 ride out in front. Still yet to make that pit stop here as we do see Brian Fine. He did make his pit stop. Same with Jack Simpson. Simpson actually gained a lot of time here on Brian Fine. Fine came down pit road. I think he was just trying to take things easy and not really do it too crazy here. And here he is, only 2 seconds in front of Jack Simpson. Simpson somehow or another gained about 10 seconds on that pit stop. I don't know if he took no tires, just took fuel, trying that strategy, seeing if he could come out close to that 57 ride. As we look a little farther back, his teammate Gage Wenzel, he is 23 seconds or so behind our race leader, so he lost about 10 seconds out there on the racetrack as our second place driver, as green flag pit stops kind of got underway right there. Now we do see Dalton Wicker. Wicker has came down pit road here. Looks like he's already rolling back out onto the racetrack. You do see Brian Fine right there rolling around him as they're going to be door to door down out of pit lane here. So Winker in position number 2. Now he's right behind this number 57 ride, but I do believe Brian potentially has that, potentially has new tires on that car. I don't know where Jack Simpson gained so much time on him without that being the case of making that pit stop and putting tires onto the 57 ride to give these drivers maybe a chance back there behind him as Wicker rolls in position number 2. Simpson right there in 3rd. Some tight racing here at the front of the field as all of a sudden back into 4th. It is 20 seconds back. You see this Lowe's for Pros at number 1 right on Michael Sheffield. Sheffield rolls there in 4th. Then we see Aaron Spear back there in 5th. Gage Wenzel there in 6th. Trying to get that car rolling down out of corner number 2 right there is Chase Abel back there behind him. Rolls in that 7th spot on the speedway. Tyler Chronister there in 8th. Timothy Watson down to his inside. Watson able to take that spot away, and Watson up into the 8th position. Chronister now back into 9th. Justin Hendry there rounding out our top 10 as Jaden Newson right there behind him. Adam Belton back there in 12th with Jonathan Cogswell. Daryl Johnson, Max Cost, our top 15 as a couple of drivers running into problems there on corner exit out of corner number 2 there, as we did see Johnson go for a little spill there as well. Able to get that Reese's Pieces number 4 ride rolling again on the speedway, and unfortunately does lose a position and brings Anthony Ludi a little closer here to his back bumper as Ludi rolls there in 16th. James Hudson down pit side. He's there in 17th with Michael Carter back in position number 18. Al Likens there in 19th, and it's Kent Mueller who's down pit side who rounds out our top 20. Gavin Grubbs there in 21st. Christopher James and Zach Wilson and Chris Zofeld bringing up the rear of the field. Unfortunately for James, Wilson, and Zofeld, they are all off the racetrack right now and not out there on the speedway. And for Kent Mueller and Gavin Grubbs, extended time down pit road here, so we may be down to only 19 drivers still racing here for the rest of the night, as Brian Fine does have this race lead. It's about a second now. He's grown that lead a little bit, but now up into the grass here. Maybe looking through that rear view mirror a little too much, makes a mistake, and now there goes Wicker. Here comes Jack Simpson. They're both going to move around that 57 for the race lead. So Brian Fine, the one mistake out there on the racetrack after giving up time down pit road. Here goes the couple drivers that were chasing him down. Dalton Wicker, now our race leader here again, even after getting the fuel that he needed there for his green flag pit stop. Jack Simpson there in second, now going to have to try to hold Brian Fine off, and if he can hold him off long enough, if he makes it too much of a hassle for Brian Fine, maybe burning up his equipment or maybe getting some damage or contact or anything else, or just slowing him up enough where Dalton Wicker may be able to steal this win away from Brian Fine. It looked like it was going to be Fine's race. It was his to lose here this evening. Pit strategy, that couple mistakes out there on the racetrack potentially could lead to Brian Fine not finding victory lane here this evening, as Corey says, let's go Toes! Cheering on Toes out there, as you can already see Brian Fine trying to work himself around that 24. Jack Simpson trying to throw a couple blocks. The 57 though able to design that up, get the inside lane here into quarter number 1. The 24 sends it in there deep, and maybe too deep, as oh baby, almost got up into the tires there. Luckily enough, able to catch that ride, get it rolling here once again, and unfortunately does slide back into that third position on the speedway. Brian Fine back into second here now, trying to hunt down and close that gap. It's 1.3 seconds between himself and Dalton Wicker, as Wicker looking to try to pull away, trying to keep that 57 right back there at bay, as he was definitely the car to beat. Out in front from the drop of the green flag, he was able to open up about a 13-second lead between himself and Jack Simpson and Gage Wenzel and this 77 ride of Dalton Wicker. As we do see Al Likens going to run into some problems. He's going to slide off the racetrack here a little bit in this Gold Filters Napa Auto Parts number 9 ride. There you go. You see him get in there a little too far. Oh, heavy contact into the tire barriers in quarter number 2. Heavy hit right there for that number 9 ride. Man, oh man, oh man. He got in there way too hot. Slams into that outside fence, and unfortunately, heavy damage here for this number 9 right of Al Likens. Let's take a look on board with him. Sends it in there, and unfortunately just too hot. Can't get that car stopped up. Can't get it to turn in. Man, that was a big hit. Heavy damage there, and looks like he's going to take that car down pit side and off the racetrack as well. So potentially another driver done and out of this race, scored back in that 19th position as he sits down in the pits right now. So Al Likens potentially has too much damage here this afternoon. We may see him come back out there. We may not see him back out there on the racetrack. Is out in front, it's Dalton Wicker who continues to hang on to this race lead. He'll lead another lap, but here he is making a mistake off the racetrack right there. Here comes Brian Fine back down low, and Fine will jump back out in front. So Brian Fine takes that race lead away, battling through that adversity after having that mistake, able to quickly get back onto the throttle, regather his thoughts, regather that momentum, and race his way back around Jack Simpson and back around Dalton Wicker and take that race lead back away. Now let's see if he can try to open up that lead, see if he can try to pull away from everybody else here on the racetrack, is right now Dalton Wicker has not a very big lead. It is 0.8 of a second between himself and Wicker there. So Brian Fine out in front, Wicker there in second. It's about a second gap already as Fine just putting that pedal down and running away with it. Jack Simpson, he's about 2.7 seconds now behind Brian Fine, and then it's a big gap, almost 24 seconds back to our 4th place driver, Michael Sheffield. Aaron Spear there in 5th with Chase Abel there in position number 6. A great run here for Chase as he rolls there in that 6th position. Gage Wenzel there in 7th. Tyler Tyler Chronister into 8th as Justin Hendry and Jaden Newson rounding out our top 10 on the racetrack. Adam Belton back there at 11th, Jonathan Cogswell there in 12th. Then we see Max Cost, Daryl Johnson, and Timothy Watson rounding out our top 15. Anthony Ludi there in 16th with James Hudson back in 17th. Michael Carter in the 18 ride rolls in 18th with Al Likens down pit side. Gavin Grubbs back out there onto the racetrack. He scored in the 20th position. Kent Mueller down pit road here. He scored in 21st. And Christopher James, Zach Wilson, and Chris Sofeld all off the racetrack back in 22nd, 23rd, and 24th here this afternoon. But it's all Brian Fine. Fine has been the driver to beat here this evening. He has been the cat that everybody has been hunting down. Everyone has been looking to try to beat here this evening. And for that Logan Strong number 57 ride, he is looking to put himself up and into the Daytona road course victory lane here this evening. He's looking to get it done. He's looking to capture that checkered flag with only 10 more laps left to go here in this one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're going to jump into a beautiful Peacemaker Gaming crank it up here as Tommy Pulte says, no problem, you do a great job, miss hearing your calls. Tommy, my boy, listen, if I could squeeze more in, I would love to, dude. I would love to 100%. Maybe in the future, if I get some time or some extra cash on the line, or, you know, build up that subscriber count and everything else, and be able to make enough money, you know, full-time content creation and everything else, maybe try to break into some of those European leagues and everything, and try to open up more time frames throughout the middle of the day, early in the day, and maybe some even later at night as well, and just kind of open things up and do, you know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 broadcasts every single day of the week. That's exactly what we'd love to do. Is what's good, Bones? Bones coming in, showing the love. How are you, Bones? Bones showing the love here in this one. How you doing? How you doing this afternoon? Hopefully you're having yourself a wonderful day. As ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you haven't already, make sure you guys do us a favor right now. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that follow and subscribe button, as we're gonna crank it up here on Peacemaker Gaming. So crank up that volume and cheer on your favorite drivers here this afternoon. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up here for all these drivers. A beautiful Peacemaker Gaming crank it up out there on the speedway. Is out in front, continuing to lead the way. It is this 57 ride of Brian Fine. Fine out in front and starting to once again open up that race lead. Starting to pull away again here on the racetrack is that NJPDesigns.com. Logan Strong, number 57, ride down across the line. We'll click off another lap, and we see only 2 more laps left to go here in this one. 2 more laps, about 4 more minutes of racing action here this afternoon for these drivers as things happen quickly here at Daytona International Speedway. And it's not only on the super speedway style of things, but here in the road course as well. Drivers able to click off lap times in about a minute and 46 seconds and beyond here this afternoon. And for that 57 rider, Brian Fine, he's looking to continue to lay down some quick times out there on the speedway, looking to continue to stretch out that race lead as it's only about 2.5 seconds between himself and the Tiny Toes, number 77, Dalton Wicker. Wicker rolls there in position number 2. Then it's 10 seconds back to our third place driver in that Premier Racing Setups, number 24, Rhinus Jack Simpson, there in third. In position number 4, it is the number 1 of Michael Sheffield. Now Sheffield, he's about 44 seconds behind our race leader. He's got a big gap between himself and Jack Simpson, a big gap between himself and our 5th place driver, that 95 ride of Aaron Spear. There in that 5th position. Now he's about 58 seconds behind our race leader, Chase Abel, there in 6th. Him and Gage Wenzel have been having probably one of the best battles out there on the racetrack. Has been a lot of back and forth between those two. Looks like Chase Abel late in the race here, able to get the upper hand here. We'll see if over in the next 2 laps he's able to hang on to that 6th spot, or if Gage Wenzel can jump back up and steal that 6th position back away from him, as Tyler Chronister getting a little loose there on corner exit. Chronister up into the 8th position here, having a great run, another solid run there for the 99 ride. Jaden Newsom, the 3rd driver of that 24-30 team, rolls there in position number 9 on the racetrack here, and Timothy Watson right behind him. Watson, he's shown a lot of speed here, and he has already made his way around Adam Belton back inside the top 10, and now quickly looking to see if he can take position number 9 away from Jaden Newsom. Now he's only got a couple laps left to go here as Brian Fine has been down across the line. He has clicked off that final lap to go here this afternoon, so the white flag has been displayed for all these drivers, and each and every one of them are chasing down this 57. All Brian Fine has to do is just be picture perfect here on this final lap. He's got 2+ seconds, 2.5 seconds between himself and Dalton Wicker. He can be on a little bit of cruise control here. He just needs to not make a mistake out there on the racetrack, and he can put himself up and into victory lane. As down through the infield portion of this course, back up onto the quarter 1 banking here at Daytona International Speedway. He builds up that speed, rolls down through quarter 1 and 2 here at Daytona International Speedway, the road course. Playing hand here this afternoon for the Buttkicker 100, powered by Hypershift Racing League and all of our other amazing sponsors. It's down into the bus stop here on the back straightaway. The back straightaway chicanes, nice and easy, no mistakes, no issues there for that Logan Strong Ford, number 57 of Brian Fine. Fine into quarter number 3, nice and easy. All he's got to do is get up through the gears and hold that throttle down across the line here, and he will pick up the checkered flag this afternoon as Brian Fine down out of quarter number 4, back into the Daytona International Speedway tri-oval, and across the line, he will see that checkered flag fly first here this afternoon as Brian Fine picks up the win. Almost 3 seconds between himself and Dalton Wicker as the Tiny Toes ride will come home in position number 2. A little farther back, we will see that 24 ride of Jack Simpson just finish his race. They're in 3rd. Michael Sheffield down the back bus stops. That's the gap there between 3rd and 4th out there on the racetrack. They are already done their race. They are celebrating. Look at Brian Fine. He's getting the congratulations here from Dalton Wicker, and Jack Simpson soon enough will be up there to congratulate these two on the great run. And Michael Sheffield just down through corner 3 and 4. He's headed back to the start-finish line. He's looking to finish off his race with a solid top 5 run in position number 4 for the Lowe's for Pros. Number 1 machine there in that 4th position. Aaron Spear, now he's down through corner number 3 and 4. But this battle back here isn't done yet, but I think for the 7th ride of Mr. Chase Abel, he's going to have one more shot, one more big run right here as he rolls to the outside of Gage Wenzel. They're looking to maybe duke it out door to door across the line for the 6th position. Looks like the 7th ride with a big head of steam, able to get back onto the throttle quicker than Gage Wenzel, and he will stay in position number 6. Last corner pass right there for Chase, able to jump into 6th. Gage Wenzel back there in 7th. Tyler Chronister there in 8th. Timothy Watson back there in 9th. There's Jaden Newsom. He's going to come home in 10th. Here comes Adam Belton down across the line in 11th. Here comes Justin Hendry there in 12th. Max Koss down out at quarter number 4, and down through the tri-oval here, he will see that checkered flag fly, and Max Koss will come home in 13th. Now here comes Jonathan Cogswell. Cogswell there in the 14th position as Daryl Johnson already done it out of his race, but here comes that 95 right, Anthony Ludi, trying to finish off his race back in the 16th position. Has to make it official now. I do believe he'll probably be the final driver to complete this race this afternoon, and it seems like it's been a while since we saw our race winner pick up the checkered flag here. As you're going to see this 95, he's just going to head right down pit road. He's going to lead that front straightaway alone as our race winner already celebrating here. Brian Fine able to pick up the win. What a run and what a drive here for the 57 machine, as he was pretty much the car to beat here all afternoon. Dalton Wicker definitely gave him a heck of a run, heck of a drive here late in this one, man. He was right there, bounced on a couple opportunities to get around that 57, but Brian was just too strong, able to get back around him here, hold that gap, and just pick up a big and much-deserved win here at Daytona Road Course this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for Brian Fine, give it up for Dalton Wicker, our second-place driver, Jack Simpson there in 3rd, and all these other amazing drivers. And if you guys are just tuning in and you guys enjoyed that racing action, make sure you guys do us a favor right now. Hit that like button. Hit that like button right now on the broadcast. Hit the thumbs up. Hit that share. Hit that follow. Hit that subscribe button. Become part of the Peacemaker family here today. And turn those bell notifications on. That way you never miss it when we go live here on Peacemaker Gaming. As we'll get ready to pull in our race winner. He was quickest in qualifying. He was quickest out there on the racetrack. And it's Brian Fine who puts himself up and into victory lane here this afternoon. And we'll get him up into the booth here for his post-race interview, man. This is going to be a good one, as he is absolutely pumped for picking up the dub here this evening. Let's see what he's got to say about his performance here this evening. Hey, Brian, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy? Hey, Brian, it's Aaron up here in the booth. Did you get a copy?
Yeah, you got me, Aaron.
I got you, brother. Brian, man, what a run, what a drive as you were able to pull that 57 ride up into victory lane here on the road course at Daytona International Speedway, man. A hell of a performance, hell of a drive here this afternoon. Obviously some big leads, but late in this race after that green flag pit stop, all of a sudden you got Dalton Wicker and Jack Simpson right there on your back bumper. You're able to, hold them off for a majority of that run. Unfortunately, did make that one mistake, got in a little too hot into, I believe it's corner 3 or 4 there down through the infield, and unfortunately Wicker and Simpson were able to get around you, but you make quick work getting back to the front of the field and able to keep them all back there behind you from that point on, as you're able to come home and drive it into victory lane after what was a fairly dominant performance.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, the car felt good tonight. I made that little mistake and I laughed and told my guys over the radio, I'm like, oh, I just stepped on my you-know-what. But, we rallied back. The guys kept pushing me forward, supported me, just like, dude, don't give up. So, man, it all worked out. The car was a little free on that end of the run, so I don't know if I may have taken less of a gallon of fuel or what, but, it prevailed at the end, just being smooth.
Absolutely, being smooth on the throttle, hitting your marks, not really, jabbing the brakes too much, getting into those wheel hops or hitting those chicanes too hard. Out there on the racetrack, able to keep that car in one piece, out of trouble for pretty much all of this race, and out in front for almost all of this race as well, man, as that first run before we see him make that green flag pit stop, out in front by about 13 seconds out there on the racetrack. And now I don't know if you got 4 tires out there and maybe some strategy out of Wicker and Simpson, as all of a sudden they were right there on your back bumper. I don't know if you just, were slower down pit side or just being a little bit more cautious with not wanting to speed down pit lane, but they were able to gain that 13 seconds back right there and be right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up taking 4 tires. That was something that me and the guys on the team were thinking about, either take 4 tires or just fuel only. I went ahead and opted for tires. Um, Exit pit road was fine. I just went in a little too hot in the horseshoe and kind of looped it around there. So that's driver fault, but the driver made it back up.
Absolutely. It's all been forgotten now as you're able to celebrate down on the front straightaway, burn down the house here, and pick up that checkered flag and trophy here this afternoon in the Buttkicker 100. As Brian, who would you like to thank, man, for such a solid run and solid drive out there on the speedway as you're able to claim this win here this afternoon in the Hypershift Racing League?
Yeah. First and foremost, this one's for my wife and my daughter. I love you guys. They're both asleep right now. Shout out to my teammates. I know it's been a struggle these last few weeks. Possibility of a win at Vegas and things happen. Texas, things happen. I was down in the dirt, but the guys kept pushing me. You're doing a great job in the broadcast. I usually end up watching these after the race. The admins of the league, all the sponsors. Want to also give a shout out to everybody here in Owasso, Oklahoma, where we just recently had that tornado pass through yesterday morning. So we're thinking about you, and this one's for you, Owasso.
Absolutely, brother. Well, Brian, heck of a run, heck of a drive, man. No better driver here this afternoon as your quickest in qualifying, quickest lap out there on the racetrack, and able to pick up the checkered flag here in Daytona, man. And we can't wait to see you back in action, back out there on the racetrack next Thursday, and maybe right back up here in victory lane. Maybe trying to get a little bit of a roll going, open up those floodgates, and seeing this 57 ride that Brian Fine right up here in victory lane more and more throughout the rest of this season, man. We look forward to seeing you back out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, I hope so too. Hopefully we can get good luck on our side.
Absolutely, brother. Well, we're all going to be hoping for it and hoping to see you back up here in the booth. Brian, enjoy this win, and don't party too hard down there in victory lane.
Oh, the fine beer is already sitting at the trailer in victory lane, so we're gonna burn it down.
Perfect, brother. Well, drink responsibly and have some fun.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for our race winner, Brian Fine. It's Fine getting it done and pulling that 57 right up and into victory lane. As now we'll get ready to pull in our second place finisher, the driver that was trying to give him the best run for his money here late in this race, that number 77, Dalton Wicker, coming home here in position number 2. Let's pull the Tiny Toes right up here into victory lane. Hey, Dalton, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Not too bad, Dalton, man. A very solid run, a great drive for you here this afternoon. Obviously, a pretty fast car, especially seemed like on those long runs as you were in that first run, having to make up some ground, make some passes there, and then all of a sudden, you have a bit of a gap between yourself and Jack Simpson and Gage Wenzel, and you're able to close that gap up on them. You're chasing them down in a quick hurry, and then some pit strategy down pit road, and you're able to come back out onto the racetrack damn near door-to-door with our race leader, Brian Fine, and you guys start to duke it out there for a little bit. Then he makes a mistake. You're able to take advantage of it, take that race lead back away, but Fine, just too strong here this afternoon, was able to battle his way back up and around you, and late in this race, just pull away and keep you back there at bay. But you were right there ready to pounce, just hoping for maybe a late race mistake out of that 57 machine.
Yeah, absolutely. He was way too strong. He made a little mistake there at the end of the infield. Then I made a mistake going into one, gave it back to him, so I didn't really give him a fight. But just try to be aggressive early in the race to get up there, and pit strategy definitely saved us here.
Absolutely. Well, you come back in on the racetrack, you're right there, battle with Brian Fine. You got Jack Simpson around you, and you don't have a whole lot of pressure outside the top 3, where you're just hoping that the tires would hold up there late in this race, or what was kind of going through your mind there as you guys were rolling and battling hard out there on the racetrack?
Only thing I was thinking tonight was survive. Just get through this. Got through turn 1 okay, and just didn't want to spin the tires throughout the night. So staying on it, just being consistent every lap, and just trying to stay in the fight.
Absolutely, brother. Well, Dalton, man, a solid second place run here tonight. You're definitely able to survive, gain some good points here this evening, man. Who'd you like to thank for the great performance and strong run out there at the Daytona Road Course?
Yeah, well, thank God we don't have to come back to this track. That was an adventure. So, I just thanks to Corey. We put in a lot of work to this, so thanks to that. Thanks to everybody else out here. It was a really clean race from what I saw. Great job to Brian. Congrats, and we'll see you next Thursday. Do this again.
Absolutely, don't. We can't wait to see you back out there on the racetrack. Maybe one spot better and parking that Tiny Toes ride back up here in Victory Lane.
Yeah, we'll be there. Tiny Toes.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up there for Dalton Wicker as Wicker comes home in position at number 2. A great run and a great drive there for the 77 run as he comes home in position number 2. As Max Koss says, only my 3rd road course race in this car. It was fun, Max. I'm glad that's only your 3rd road course run. We didn't really see many issues or off tracks or anything else for you, man. It was a pretty solid effort for you. Maybe not as fast or as great of a finish that you would hope for, but nonetheless, man, we're happy that you had some fun. Hopefully all these drivers, for the most part, had some fun and enjoyed some of the racing in the different mix, different style out there with the road course aspect of things this afternoon as we'll get ready to pull in our 3rd place finisher, Jack Simpson. Simpson coming home in 3rd. Let's pull him up here into the broadcast booth. Hey, Jack, it's Aaron up here in the Peacemaker Broadcasting booth. Did you get a copy?
Got a copy, yeah.
Jack, man, another solid run, another solid drive here for you tonight, man. As not only did you have to turn left, but you also had to turn right out there on the racetrack as we head to the Daytona Road Course here. And, man, you put on a good battle, some good strategy there throughout that middle portion as, you and Fine and Wicker and your teammate Gage Wenzel come down pit road, and all of a sudden you come back out and you're kind of right there in the middle of things, right in that bit of a battle between yourself and Fine and Wicker, and you do see, Fine make that one mistake. Unfortunately, you weren't able to keep him held back there for very long, and unfortunately, either could Wicker as Brian Fine, just the class of the field here this evening, and able to pull away with this one. But you got to be pretty happy, able to survive, keep that car pretty clean out there on the racetrack, and come home with a solid top 3 run, gaining some solid points here again this afternoon.
Yeah, I came into this race, I was hoping to get a win, but I just realized that wasn't going to be in the cards tonight, and then I just thought I want to at least get top 3, and we did that. But I was having pedal issues the whole race. My throttle would be about halfway down going into the corners, and I was locking up, and I don't think I went off any, but it was definitely hurting my pace. But I mean, with that problem, I think I did pretty well, and I'm happy where I finished. Gage had more speed than where he finished. So that sucks for him, but at least Jaden got his first top 10. So I'd say for the whole team, it was a pretty good race.
Yeah, for the whole team, pretty solid day at the racetrack. Obviously, we saw you and Gage both battling there, and 2nd and 3rd for a lot of laps there early on. And then I'm not sure what happened to Gage. Looks like he got some front end damage somewhere out there on the speedway. It unfortunately kind of shuffled him back there after those pit stops, and all of a sudden that 36 ended up, kind of in a great battle back there for that 6th position between him and Chase Abel. They were just duking it out back there for that 6th spot. We watched them for quite a while, back and forth out there on the racetrack, and unfortunately just seemed like that front end damage late in the race. He just couldn't get off of that bus stop on the back straightaway with enough speed or up through the gears quick enough, and that's where we saw Chase able to get back around him and steal that 6th spot from him. But you were pretty strong all evening long. Obviously a solid gap between yourself and Michael Sheffield, and still within somewhat of a striking distance. If something got going between Fine and Wicker, that you could have been closing the gap there, or if they got together, you could have been able to maybe squeeze away with a win here tonight. But unfortunately, just non-stop good green flag racing here this afternoon, and as you said, having some pedal issues, man. This is a tough place to have pedal issues. If you're at Daytona International Speedway as the super speedway style of a racetrack, having a gas pedal issue is not an issue out there on the racetrack, but here on the road course, definitely a solid problem out there that you gotta deal with all evening long. It's very, very tough, and obviously, as you said, skidding those front tires and everything else, and that's just taking the car away from you and not being able to get the drive off that you're hoping for, and obviously burning up that right front quite a bit out there as well, so handling issues start to arise as well. So that's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with like some cars with pedal issues, like formula cars, they're light and they're forgiving, but this car doesn't give at all. It's so unforgiving. It's so heavy. If I just go into a hairpin with a bit more gas, it's I'm going into the wall. But I'm just thankful I managed my issue the best I could, and to get a top 3 with that issue, I just couldn't be more happy.
Absolutely, brother. Well, a great run, a solid drive here for you tonight, Jack. Who'd you like to thank for another solid performance out there on the racetrack and another top 3 run here in the Hypershift Racing League?
I just want to thank my teammates, all the logos on the car, Premier Racing Setups, Rocket Racing Graphics, Unrivaled Cinematography. We're gonna have a new logo on my car, at least for next week. So I can't say what that is yet, but there will be an announcement later in the week about that. So yeah.
Beauty. Well, Jack, we can't wait to see you back out on the racetrack, sporting a new look out there on the speedway, and hopefully being able to, park it back up here, at least in the podium, or maybe right up in victory lane for your new sponsor, and getting it off with a bang there next Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
Absolutely. Well, we can't wait to see you back out there, Jack. Congrats on the 3rd place run, and hopefully we'll see you right back up here in the booth.
Yeah, I want to be back. Have a good night.
You too. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, give it up for Jack Simpson as Jack comes home in position number 3. And Jack will be back here this time, hopefully tomorrow or Thursday afternoon, as next Thursday we'll see these Hypershift Racing League drivers back in action, ready to duke it out again next Thursday afternoon, as Jeff McJeffrey says, damn it, I missed the race. Jeff, don't you worry, brother, as I don't know, it's pretty late. I don't know, I want to play some Warzone, man. We just got for dance back. I'm going to see if some of the boys are on. If some of the boys are on, we may go back live again and do a little late night Warzone vibe session. Just kind of hang out, shoot the shit, play some Call of Duty, have some fun, and if they're not on, though, I don't like playing Warzone by myself, so we'll have to wait and save that for another day. But make sure you guys have those bell notifications on. That way you guys don't miss it when we go live here on Peacemaker Gaming, and that way you guys don't miss any of the action here and any of the fun that we may have later this afternoon. But thank y'all for watching, thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all in the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank y'all for tuning in, thank y'all for watching the Buttkicker 100 here with the Hypershift Racing League, and we'll see you guys back here next Thursday for this series, and we'll see you guys either back here tonight in the broadcast or potentially tomorrow for our 2nd race of the week with the Wednesday night street fights. Well, it's the DWR, the Dirt Warrior Racing League, is Dirt Street Stocks back in action tomorrow night as well. As ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank y'all for watching, thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, baby. Peace out for now, ladies and gentlemen.
Turbocharged hard, piston pumping like a beast. Black top, jungle feast on chaos, crave the grease. 180 miles of asphalt ain't forgiven. In this chaos-driven life, only the fearless living. Checkered flag visions, adrenaline addiction. Metal chorus blare, ain't no friction fiction. Drafting on the homies, camaraderie's the trigger. Slides on the track, bombs ready, yeah we bigger. Brother dreams, chasing speed and might. Engines roar loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, with fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Fueling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing all control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line. Pit stop hustle, seconds ticking like grenades. Oil stained glory, history never fades. Helmet and visor, it's a warrior's enchantment. Every turn a gamble, every lap a commitment. Crowds roar, amplifies high-octane behavior. Victory they sharp, savoring the flavor. Wind in the helmet, destiny's a blur. Burning rubber dreams, all senses concur. Rubber dreams, chasing speed and might. Engines roar loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, the fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Pulling up the spirit, nitro in the soul. Cranking up the madness, losing all control. Curves like serpents, straightaways divine. Track burning hot, toasting every line. Under the dreams, chasing speed and light. Engines roaring loud, blazing through the night. Lap after lap, the fire in our veins. Run till we drop, or burst into flames. Fueling up the spirit, nitro in the soul.